From prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily. Oh, you can catch new episodes throughout the day at Creature Guide Live at Rumble and YouTube. Now, let's get into the animals of the day. Starting off with an article by the Miami Herald. Uh, sheesh. By the I can't speak this morning. Miami Herald. Rare bear among creatures spotted on trail cam in Thailand park. I'm guessing it's referring to the Asiatic black bear. It's quite rare throughout Southeast Asia, but becomes much more common in different parts of northeastern China and the southern island of, or central island of Japan. Spanning nearly 100 square miles, the forests of Si Phang Naga National Park are home to some of Thailand's most interesting creatures. From the forest floor to the tree canopies, wildlife officials are trying to get a better picture of the animals that call the park home, and a set of trail cameras are helping the cause, according to May 12th news release from the Department of National Parks, Wildlife, and Plant Conservation. Still don't know what the bear is. Park officials recently looked through the images collected by the cameras spanning from April 10th to May 10th and were surprised by what they found. According to the Post, the cameras caught five different major animal species foraging in the area, including some rare species. Most notably, an Asian black bear spent some time in front of the lens, officials said. The species is vulnerable and their numbers are decreasing, making their appearance in the park good news. Yeah, when looking at the Asiatic black bear over in Southeast Asia, there could be as few as 8 to 10,000 of these animals. And it doesn't look like in many of these areas that their population is increasing. So you can find them in small numbers in different parts of Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, see, Thailand, and I'm missing another country, southeastern China. So here's okay. This looks like a healthy individual. So this happened on or he posted at May 12th. Usually it tends to say on some part of the trail camera the date and even the time of day. Asian or Asiatic black bears have black to slightly brownish fur with a crescent moon-shaped white mark on their chests. Even certain American black bears can have a bit of a coloration on their chest. It's not very common, but it does occur. But American black bears also tend to have a variety of different color variations. You can find different white black bears. You can find cinnamon brown American black bears, and even some that have a bit of a silverish sort of coating, which is what you tend to find some part of southeastern Alaska. But it's very rare for something like that to occur on Asiatic black bears. See. They're found throughout southern Iran into the Himalayas, as well as throughout southeastern Asia and Japan. Yeah, they're quite rare over in southern Iran and the Himalayas of India, Pakistan, China. The bears spend most of their time at higher elevations, but spend their winters at lower elevations after putting on fat. In Southeast Asia, they do not hibernate. The bears only forage in abundant, undisturbed environments, officials said, making their appearance in the park an indicator of successful conservation efforts. So here we have, I believe, a swamp deer coming up to the camera. So this was on April 16th of 2025, around, saying 1300 hours. Oh, that'd be was that 128 or 228? Or, yeah, it's 128. Okay, so one of these smaller species of deer. Oh, so it is a mouse deer. Okay. These guys are Yeah, incredibly small, somewhere around 20 pounds. But while the black bear may be the giant of the forest, other much smaller animals also made their presence known. Officials said two male sambar deer, three female sambar deer, two large mouse deer or tragulus, one male great Argus pheasant, and one female great Argus pheasant, and a troop of pig-tailed macaques were all recorded on the cameras. There has been a noticeable decline in poaching since regular patrols were performed in the park, officials said. And this work is evidenced through both male and female deer appearing on the cameras. I'm guessing that's the pheasant. Okay, here's the macaque. Both male and female great Argus pheasants. Okay, at the picture above the macaque, and then troop of pigtail macaques here. I only see one though. Sai Feng Nija National Park is located on the southern peninsula of Thailand, near the coast of the Andaman Sea. Okay, well, it's good to know that they're getting um, footage of these different animals wandering through, and that at least there is an Asiatic black bear within the park um, in the southern peninsula of Thailand. So let me know what your thoughts are on the Southeast Asian wildlife in the comments, and thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now let's head on to the next article by Sign News. Or Triassic sauropodomorph dinosaur suffered from severe bone tissue infection. A ream of paleontologists at the University of Zurich reports a chronic case of osteomyelitis, bone tissue infection in Plateosaurus trossigensis, one of the earliest discovered and best known dinosaurs from the late Triassic of Europe. Yeah, many different countries in Europe, Plateosaurus, even Trossigensis, is quite common in many late Triassic formations. So we're talking after somewhere around 213 million years ago. Oh, okay, here we go. Yeah, that's a decent amount of the skeleton. It's too bad that the skull wasn't found, but that's pretty good for most dinosaur specimens. Diagram of the Plateosaurus tronsigensis skeleton as part of the Teoplatai exhibit at the Natural History Museum of the University of Zurich. Plateosaurus tronsigensis lived in Europe during the late Triassic epoch or period, some 220 million years ago. The ancient animal was nearly 26 feet long and walked on its two hind limbs. In new research, University of Zurich paleontologist Jordan Bestwick and colleagues examined a skeleton of Plateosaurus tronsigensis from the Klettgau Formation of Frick, Switzerland. Yeah, there have been regarding this specific formation in Switzerland. There have been a variety of different species of reptiles and amphibians, but regarding most archosaurs or specifically dinosaurs that have been found in the region, most have been unnamed, but there has been a member of the theropod family that lived somewhere around 209 million years ago. It was a bit quite distinct from animals such as Coelophysis over in Arizona, but by the time this specific theropod I'm talking about had evolved, Coelophysis bari specifically had gone extinct. The animal was close to the same size, though, a little more stocky than, or just overall heavily built in Coelophysis, somewhere around 7 feet in length, and might have weighed probably around 90 to 110 pounds. And then there was Plateosaurus trussigensis, specifically from this region. So this isn't the first time that Plateosaurus has been discovered here, but there was another species. I think it was another species of unidentified theropod, possibly. In new research, University of okay, the ancient animal was nearly 8 meters or 26 feet in length and walked on its two hind limbs. In new research, University of Zurich paleontologist Jordan, wait, I already said that. They found evidence for severe osteomyelitis in the dinosaur's right shoulder and upper arm. Osteomyelitis affects many living animals, including mammals such as humans, as well as birds and reptiles, Dr. Bestwick said. The disease is known to have affected several different dinosaur groups, including sauropods, so we had access to a range of specimens to compare our Plateosaurus with. Oh, okay. So this disease would later there's evidence for this disease affecting different species of sauropods, possibly into the Jurassic and Cretaceous. Sheesh. The affected bones in the shoulder and upper arm have unusually rough internal and external textures, altered shapes, and are even fused together, symptoms that are broadly typical of osteomyelitis. According to the researchers, their discovery is fascinating not only because at around 220 million years old, it is the currently oldest reported case of osteomyelitis in a dinosaur. Wow. Okay. This is good to know. But the size of the infected area was unusually large. Previous studies of osteomyelitis in dinosaurs report localized areas of infection, such as toe bones or a couple of adjacent bones in the spine, Dr. Bestwick said. Having an entire infected shoulder and upper arm is very unusual. Although we don't know what initially caused the infection, the animal likely suffered from this disease for a substantial part of its life, possible rendering its right arm useless. Oh, that's it. Well, this was unfortunate for this Plateosaurus to go through. So apparently he was somewhat disabled for a portion of his life. So let me know what your thoughts are on this poor creature in the comments. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now let's head on to the next article. Some more humpback whales chase orcas in amazing display. When there's a pod of orcas involved in a chase, it's usually pretty safe to assume that it's the orcas that are doing the chasing. Not this time, though. Pacific Offshore Expeditions recently shared a video showing orcas being chased by humpback whales. What makes it perhaps even more interesting is that the orcas were hunting when the humpback began to chase them off. You have to see it to believe it. But yesterday we had pods of humpback whales chasing a pod of killer whales, wrote Pacific Offshore Expeditions in Instagram post sharing the video. The orcas were hunting sea lions within a mile of several humpbacks. When the whales realized what was going on, they grouped up and charged the orcas. I'm guessing this might be occurring off the coast of California, possibly. If this is, especially during this time of year. So somewhere around May to November, depending on the weather conditions. This is when the female humpback whales travel to from the coast of Baja California and different parts of the western coast of Mexico and up to California and some subspecies even make it to different parts of Alaska, and they will feed in these regions. It's down in the winter over in Baja California and Mexico that they breed and give birth, and then they travel north during the late spring. And the early summer is when they're feeding, but also this becomes a problem when they have to deal with orcas in these different regions. So it's probably that they felt that the orcas were just too close and represented a danger to their calves. Let's see. Oh, the company notes that humans have documented this behavior before, but that it's still rare to witness. It's also interesting to note that the group observed this behavior twice with two different groups of humpback whales. It's an amazing display of either instinct or emotion for humpbacks to attempt to interfere with killer whales killing, the post read. We saw this happen twice yesterday, about 2 hours apart on separate sea lion attacks with separate groups of humpbacks. Oh, wow. That's interesting. It occurred twice that day. It was about 2 hours apart, and different groups of humpback whales were going after the sea lions. I mean, the orcas. Were they helping the sea lions? Watch humpback whales chase off some orcas here. I mean, obviously they were, but I'm guessing this just has to do with their calves. So they're the orcas. Wow, they really are in pursuit. Sheesh. That is, yeah, this is not common to see. Wha she got right up to the orcas. I'm guessing these are large fem Okay, there's a sound issue we're fixing. You have to see it to believe it. But yesterday we had pods of humpbacks chasing a pod of killer whales. Let's see. This has been documented before, usually in Monterey Bay, yet still an amazing display of either instinct or emotion for humpbacks to attempt to interfere with killer whales killing. Yeah, this was quite amazing to see with the humpback going right up to the orcas and pushing them off. I mean, my guess is that they were just simply pushing the orcas away from their calves. Well, let me know what your thoughts are on the humpback whales consistently pushing away the orcas. And thank you for joining Creature Guy Live. Now let's move on to the next article by Sci News. Paleontologists discover new species of elasmosaur. A new genus and species of elasmosaurid, a type of plesiosaur with an extremely long, slender neck, has been identified from the fossilized remains found near the Marambio base, a permanent all year round Argentine Antarctica station on Marambio Island. Is that an AI reconstruction of Marambionectus molani? Elasmosaurs are members of Elasmosauridae, a family of plesiosaurs that flourished during the Cretaceous period, about 145 million to 66 million years ago. Well, there are a variety of different species of plesiosaurs that go back into the Jurassic period, but it's only referring to Elasmosauridae, which I believe evolved slightly later into the Cretaceous and not at the 145 million year mark. Unless it's just trying to refer to the Cretaceous period itself and nothing to do with Elasmosauridae, which this would be correct when referring to the timestamp. These creatures were fully adapted to an aquatic lifestyle and had distinctive body plan comprising a streamlined body, paddle-like limbs, and a very long neck with up to 75 individual vertebrae. The new species Marambionectus molani inhabited the Cretaceous oceans around 67 million years ago. Its fossils were recovered from the upper levels of the Lopez de Bertinado, no, de Bertodano Formation in the James Ross Archipelago of the Antarctic Peninsula in February 2018. There have been, from this specific formation, at least 8 different specimens of plesiosaur within the region, and somewhere around 8 or 9 different specimens of mosasaur that have been discovered here. So it is known for its larger marine life. When it comes to dinosaurs, it's they're not very well known from this distinct marine deposit, so they're quite rare. The collected remains of Marambionectus mullinae include the trunk and part of the tail. That trunk? Is that having to do with its neck? The what's it referring to as a trunk? These animals didn't have noses like tapirs or elephants. The limbs, neck, and skull, as well as stomach stones called gastrolids, possibly used to mechanical digestion of food, said um, Conicet paleontologist Jose O'Gorman and his colleagues. They were extracted in the first campaign, an intense and exhausting experience that was interrupted by a several-day snowstorm that isolated our research team in a shelter, waiting for better weather conditions to allow them to finish the work. Yeah, there have been a variety of different marine reptiles, especially different species of plesiosaur, that have been found with gastrolids inside of their stomach cavity, possibly to help with digestion of food. The phylogenetic analysis. Oh, okay. So here they're excavating the Marambionectus mullinae plesiosaur. This looks good. The phylogenetic analysis recovered Marambionectus mullinae within the clade Wedelinectia, well, Wedelinectia, and as a sister group of the subfamily Aristonectinae. In this sense, the author suggests that some of these skeletal structures of aristonectines were acquired through a process that began in non-aristonectine elasmosaurids before the appearance of this clade. The general preservation state of the specimen is exceptional, even of cranial material, although it is not complete, paleontologists said. We were able to confirm not only that it is a new species, but also has particular characteristics that allowed us to locate it as a form of transition between the two groups that inhabited the southern hemisphere, giving light to the evolutionary process and the connection between other genera found in Chile, New Zealand, and Western Antarctica. Well, this is good to hear that off the coast of Antarctica, we have found another species of elasmosaurid. To add to the elasmosaurs that have already been found there. So let me know what your thoughts are on Marambionectus in the comments. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now let's move on to the next article by Science News. How an invasive ant changed a lion's dinner menu. The impact rippled up from ants to trees to elephants to lions and their prey. When there's not enough tree cover, lions in the Ol Pahita Conservancy in Kenya switch from their favorite food, zebra, to buffalo. What's taking down the trees? Invasive ants, which are messing up the ant tree mutualism that protects trees from elephants. So I'm guessing this is taking place in southern Kenya. So this is adjacent to the Masai Mara, which the wildebeest are about to or are venturing like at this moment in early July as part of their seasonal migration in the Serengeti. How did the ant steal the lion's dinner? This isn't the beginning of one of Aesop's fables. It's the finding of a new study showing how the disruption of one tiny mutual relationship on the African savanna has big impacts on the food web, all the way to the lion's den. When big-headed ants, Phytole megacephalae, invade the savanna, they kill off native acacia ants, which belong to the genus Chromatogaster, robbing local whistling thorn trees of their valiant defenders against hungry elephants. Jeez. Here's the thing. Big-headed ants, they're not just a problem here over in Africa. They have become a problem virtually all over the world. Different parts of North America, South America, Asia, and definitely Australia, they've had a pretty negative impact. They're from an island, Mucharella island in the Indian Ocean, and they've been introduced to every other continent, and they're just wiping out many native species. They're not the only invasive ants in different continents, but they are a big problem. Without ants to bite them, the elephants rip up the thorn trees. The thorn trees are the acacias, opening up the grassland, which makes it harder for lions to catch their preferred zebra meals. Lions end up hunting buffalo instead. The findings published online January 25th in Science show that invasive species effects can be very indirect and suggest that changes in different low level mutualisms might also echo up food webs in other ecosystems. Over the past 15 years or so, wildlife ecologist Jake Goheen and his colleagues at the University of Wyoming in Laramie and the Ol Pahita Conservancy in Laikipia, Kenya, have been studying how acacia ants protect whistling thorn trees. When an elephant tries to eat the tree, ants swarm up inside its nostrils and bite from the inside out. Oh, that's gotta hurt, Goheen says. Just biting your sensitive tissue inside of your nose. I mean, thank goodness it can sneeze extremely well. Still, though, they ants cling on to your skin fairly well, so I'm not even sure if that would help. The scientists were also examining what the lions in the conservancy eat as part of a separate study. One of the things that we found was that lions are much more effective. They're more successful with their hunts in areas where the tree cover is high, Goheen says. But what happens when tree cover is suddenly low? It definitely shows that different lion populations in different parts of Africa use hunting techniques. So there are many instances where they just simply use grass for cover. And in this specific area, they're actually relying on acacia trees a lot more for ambush. To find out, Goheen and his colleagues collared 6 lionesses from the local prides to track their activity and kills. The team also set up experimental plots where big headed ants had invaded and where the native ants still held sway. The big headed ant arrived in Conservancy between 2000 and 2005, Goheen says. We think it probably was imported on produce, brought into the houses or tourist camps in the area. The invading insects kill local acacia ants wherever they find them. Sheesh. And other studies have shown that without defending ants, pachyderms tore down the thorn trees 5 to 7 times more often. Whoa. That's the thing. Many instances, elephants will now and then take down acacia trees, but this is it's almost like in these areas where the big-headed ants have taken over, the elephants now the acacia trees actually represent a much larger part of the elephant's diet, which isn't necessarily good if you're looking at the overall health of the acacia tree population, and then in turn, how it's affecting even lions. So, are these the big-headed ants? When the invasive big-headed ants find native acacia ants, they surround them and attack, leaving the acacia ants' tree home undefended and vulnerable to elephants. Here, the smaller invasive ants encircle and tear apart the larger native ants. Oh, it's I didn't I didn't realize that the big-headed ants were smaller than the native acacia ants. That's pretty gruesome. In the new study, the scientists could have used drones or satellite images to study tree cover, but we don't have that kind of money. Goheen says. Instead, the researchers tracked their collared lions and then got down on hands and knees near the lions' recent kills, using a rangefinder to measure the openness of the area. Areas with big-headed ants, the team showed, had 2.67 times higher visibility than areas without, meaning that lions could see farther, but so could their prey. Lions relied on the cover of trees to pounce on hapless zebras nearby. Where visibility was low, the probability of a zebra kill was 62%. Wow, that's pretty good. Jeesh. But when visibility was high, the lion's chance of taking down a zebra dropped to only 22%. Uh, thousands. There's thousands of different species of ants. But so when visibility was high, the lion's chance of taking down a zebra dropped to only 22%. Even though that's incredibly low compared to 62%, still not terrible, but it is if they aren't obtaining a lot of food in a certain part of the year. So, yeah, technically you could say that's pretty bad. Over the 3 years of the study, zebra dinners decreased from 67% to 42% of lion kills. Wow, that's a major decrease. But the lions didn't go hungry. Instead, they went for beef. I would call buffalo Cape Buffalo beef, but I've never had Cape Buffalo. Buffalo, I mean, it is a bovine, so. Buffalo kills increased from 0 to 42%. Oh my gosh, of kills over the study period. They just said, that's it. We're not going to um we're not going to Zebra Steakhouse. We're done with this. We're just okay. Wow. It's a risky diet, Goheen says. Buffalo are big and feisty, and lions hunting buffalo are more likely to be injured. Yeah, it's true. There's too many times where they end up getting their armpits stabbed by the buffalo's horn. Study shows that the disruption of a mutualism can have cascading effects on other species in the community, says Emilio Bruna, a plant ecologist at the University of Florida in Gainesville. Those effects can be unexpected and indirect. It's a clue, Bruna says, that ecologists should be looking out for other pairs like the acacia ant and the thorn tree, where a single special relationship is a foundation for an ecosystem, and a single anthill could cause a savanna-wide shift in who is eating who. This is quite astonishing for these specific lions over in Kenya that this ant had that profound of an impact. It's destroying the native acacia ants, and it literally caused them to switch part of their prey feeding style. Okay, well, let me know what your thoughts are on the big-headed ants affecting virtually the whole ecosystem within Kenya in the comments. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now let's move on to the next article by Sci News. Paleontologists discover new species of ankylosaur dinosaur. A new genus and species of ankylosaur has been identified from an articulated and partial skeleton found in 1986 in southern China. Okay, so late Cretaceous ecosystem. The artistic reconstruction of Huaxiazhulong Shoan. The newly discovered species was an early member of a family of armored dinosaurs called Ankylosauridae. Yeah, there have been over 50 different species of ankylosaur have been discovered. But I'm also not necessarily even including the nodosaurs, which are technically part of the ankylosaur lineage. They just did not receive club tails and mostly relied on the different types of spiky osteoderm appendages around different parts of like their shoulder blades. Now, technically, you could find different spikes even along the upper back, but it tend to become a lot more smooth as you reach the lower part of the back and then over to the tail. So Nodosaurs never received a club tail. They were also closely related to the true ankylosaurs, like animals such as Euoplocephalus, Tarchia. The newly discovered species was an early member of a family of armored dinosaurs called Ankylosauridae. Dubbed Huaxulong Shoan, the ancient animal is approximately 6 meters or 20 feet in length. Ankylosauridae is a diverse clade of quadrupedal herbivorous dinosaurs characterized by parasagittal rows of osteoderms on the dorsolateral surface of the body and a heavily armored skull. Yunnan University paleontologist Zhang Zhu and colleagues wrote in their paper. Ankylosaurs lived from the Middle Jurassic to the end of the Late Cretaceous. Epoch. Should be period. As a subgroup of Ankylosauridae, Ankylosaur dinosaurs are currently found in Asia and North America. In Asia, they were mainly found in Mongolia and northern China. Yeah, that is where many ankylosaurs come from in Asia, specifically Mongolia and northern China. The fossilized remains of an adult individual of Huaxuzhuang Shoan were found in 1986 in the deposits of the Tangbian Formation at Longzi Village, Yangtze Province, southern China. Yeah, ankylosaurs, and also looking at the individual that they're showing here, many of these animals had the ability to break the shin bone or even the skull of a tyrannosaur. Now, I'm guessing this was a late Cretaceous animal, so possibly it might have coexisted with larger tyrannosaurs like Tarbosaurus. Now, it's not just predators. Usually, you have it where the herbivores are more dangerous and aggressive than the carnivores. So you could have instances where the herbivores could get into conflict with each other when there's a short supply of water or vegetation. And you could have it where an ankylosaur could break the skull of a ceratopsian or definitely even a hadrosaur within the area. Therizanosaur, even sauropods, they could be a bit of a threat to. The deposits are a set of late Cretaceous strata represented by an extensive sequence of red mudstones, sandstones, and conglomerates, the researchers wrote. This set of strata is classified locally as the Tangbian Formation, which belongs to Gufeng Group. It has yielded some fragments of dinosaurs and dinosaur eggs. The specimen dates to the late Cretaceous epoch between 84 and 72 million years ago. Could have been slightly before Tarbosaurus evolved. Excavated by Huangshan County Museum paleontologists, it consists of an articulated and partial skeleton without skull and mandible. That's a shame, but I didn't show a picture though. It's good to know we have part of the skeleton. Huangshua's Hulong Showen is the second ankylosaurid species discovered in China's Huangxi province, scientists wrote in the paper. Also, this specific formation, there was another species of ankylosaur that had been discovered here. I think there was possibly a species of Elasmaria ornithopod, but only about, I think, 3 dinosaur specimens have been found in this specific formation. So it's simply good to hear that we found another ankylosaur within this region. Phylogenetic analysis suggests that Huaxhulong Showen is a basal member of Ankylosauridae. The finding of Huaxhulong Showen adds diversity to the late Cretaceous of China and helps elucidate the evolution of ankylosaurid dinosaurs in East Asia. Well, it's good to know that we have another ankylosaur within this region of northern China. See what, a 20-footer. So I'm guessing he probably weighed somewhere around 1.5 to 2 tons. 2 tons, probably an extremely large individual. But let me know what your thoughts are on Huaxhua's Hulong. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now let's move on to the final article by Cool Green Science, or the Nature Conservancy, Blog Nature, everybody. Why are some wolves black? Black wolves are more common in subpopulations than others, and recent research finds a surprising correlation. So, what is this? A picture of a black wolf? I'm not sure. I don't think this is Yellowstone. Yep, it's in Bow Valley, Banff. So this is over in Alberta, Canada. Banff National Park. Sometime in the last 10,000 years or so, as humans migrated across the Bering Strait to North America, they brought dogs with a gene that ultimately gave gray wolves black coats. Thousands of years later, conquistadors landing in South America brought measles, dogs, and a virus that causes distemper. Fast forward to today, but a blink in evolutionary time, and researchers realized those two events likely collided and resulted in more black colored wolves in the southern Rocky Mountains and more gray coated wolves everywhere else. We found that, wait, that's interesting. So in the southern Rocky Mountains, I didn't know this, there are larger number of black colored wolves. We found that there are more black wolves where distemper outbreaks are more frequent, says Ellen Brandel, one of the paper's co-authors and wildlife research scientist with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. We also found that adults that survive distemper are more likely to be black. Why? Hitching a ride on the gene that codes for black coats is an increased immunity to respiratory viruses like distemper. A paper explaining the phenomenon was published in the journal Science in late 2022 with more than a dozen co-authors from universities across France, the UK, and the US, and several state and federal agencies. Research continues to show just how much each new variation, each new introduction can create rippling effects in species for thousands of years. That looks more like Yellowstone. Member of Yellowstone's Wapiti Lake Wolf Pack howls at the edge of a sagebrush meadow. Outside of the Arctic, gray wolves, despite their name, have two main coat colors, gray and black. Wolves outside of the southern Rocky Mountains. So it's referring to areas of Colorado, New Mexico, South Dakota might be part of the Middle Rockies. And usually the Rocky Mountains over in southeastern Idaho and northwestern Wyoming tend to be referred to as part of the Middle Rockies. So I'm guessing this is just Colorado and New Mexico, but hasn't said explicitly for sure. Wolves outside the southern Rocky Mountains, those in the Great Lakes region and northern Rocky Mountains and Alaska, tend to be predominantly gray. Those in the more southerly regions of the Rockies around Banff, Jasper, and Yellowstone National Parks tend to be split about half and half. If okay, this sounds like one of those instances where people will merge the mountains from like the Brooks Range of Alaska down to New Mexico. And so they're classifying Banff and Jasper and Yellowstone because Jasper is adjacent to Banff. So Yellowstone, you're being in Wyoming, and Banff and Jasper being in Alberta, Canada. They're calling this the Southern Rockies compared to Alaska. So if you look at the true Rocky Mountains, though, they do not extend past northeastern British Columbia, I believe. So it's a bit confusing at the moment, but I'm guessing they're merging the mountains of Alaska too. So that's why they're calling even Yellowstone Southern. Explaining how coat colors come to be is similar to why some people have green eyes versus brown or blonde versus brown hair, says Doug Smith, one of the paper's co-authors and a recently retired senior biologist at Yellowstone. Wolves get two genes that dictate coat color, one from each parent. That means they either have two black genes, also called alleles, two gray genes, or one of each. For those who have one of each, the black allele is dominant and the wolf, as a result, is black. Black wolves, logic would follow, should then be dominant across the landscape, since two of the three combinations of genes result in black wolves. But, broadly speaking, most wolves outside of the more southern range of the Rockies are gray. Researchers realize that gray wolves, those with two gray alleles, are more likely to successfully reproduce, which is up to speculation. Though after decades of studying wolves in the Yellowstone region, Smith hypothesizes it's because gray wolves have a tendency to be more aggressive and thus more successful surviving wolf conflict, finding a mate, and producing pups. Wolves with two black genes, conversely, are the least likely to survive for reasons that still puzzle researchers. Well, that's interesting. But oh, by the way, Doug Smith has been doing research on gray wolves within the greater Yellowstone ecosystem for decades. So he is one of the more well-known researchers on wolves in the world. It's also Carrie Gunther within Yellowstone, which focuses on the grizzly bears within that ecosystem. But if wolves with two gray genes are most likely to reproduce, why in places like Yellowstone are there about as many black wolves as gray wolves? Because of disease and mate choice, researchers found. I think it's another Yellowstone one. Black wolf in Yellowstone's Lamar Valley. Lamar Valley is a very well-known place for spotting grizzlies and wolves within Yellowstone. Canine distemper is a highly contagious virus similar to measles that likely arrived in South America with conquistadors in the 1700s, according to a 2019 paper published in the journal Frontiers in Microbiology. From there, the disease spread throughout canines, including foxes, raccoons, skunks, coyotes, wolves, and even wild cats like lions and tigers. It's a brutal disease, Smith says, causing those infected to become lethargic, vomit, and cough before moving on to the animal's nervous system. It's often fatal, particularly to puppies, and can wipe out entire litters. Like many viruses, those who survive disease exposure are generally immunized against that strain for life, as well as any vaccinated against the disease, like most of our domesticated furry companions. I wouldn't say most of them. There have been many outbreaks with diseases like canine distemper in different parts of the Great Lakes regions. If you're referring to just different parts of the United States, it's been found all over the country. Um, Outbreaks of the disease occur throughout North America, but are much more frequent for unknown reasons. In the Yellowstone region, where they occur every 4 or 5 years. I'm guessing that's coming in from people visiting the park because you have over 4 million people each year that visit Yellowstone. Perhaps researchers realized there was a connection between outbreaks of distemper and the gene that results in varying wolf coat colors. Now, this one is a gray colored wolf from Minnesota. It looks good. After extensive collaboration and analysis from 12 North American wolf populations, researchers realized that the DNA region containing the black gene is linked to increased immune function. They then turned to 20 years of data from wolves in Yellowstone and realized that more black wolves was not an accident. Because wolves in Yellowstone faced increased numbers of outbreaks of distemper, the canines selected to breed with wolves of the opposite color, even if pure gray wolves might have higher reproductive success. And so, putting all that together, this is probably why you get the color patterns of wolves that you get across North America and in the region, Smith says. Disease doesn't hit every place the same. You had variation of disease across North America, and as it varied, it had a big impact on who survived. is not likely the only surprising variation in genetics helping protect animals from disease. A 2009 paper also published in Science explaining the origins of the black allele from domestication shows it may actually help the species adapt, particularly to a changing climate. And the phenomenon is likely not limited to wolves. So it's still big question as to the overall even benefit of having the black coat. That is interesting. I'm still a bit confused as to like where specifically these specific individuals with the coat are a bit more common, but it's saying areas such as Banff, Jasper, and Yellowstone. So it sounds like virtually much of Western Canada, and at least in the more inland Rocky Mountain regions, and then even the northwestern lower 48. We don't tend to consider disease to be as important as it is in shaping the evolutionary processes of populations, Brandel says. Here we show that disease pressures can have enormous impacts on what we observe in wildlife, like their coloration, something which we can all easily observe. Okay, well, this is interesting. It definitely has shown a bit of how the wolves were able to adapt by obtaining certain genes and fighting against these different diseases. Well, let me know what your thoughts are on these wolves in the comments. That's it for the animal news of the day. You can catch new episodes at Creature Guide Live on Rumble and YouTube. And remember to like, comment, and if you love animals, share this show with everyone you know, because nothing is better than all animals all the time.